I found out on a Tuesday. It was the kind of Tuesday that feels like it should have never happened. Gray, but not stormy. Quiet, but not peaceful. The kind that crawls behind your ribs and settles in your bones like dust. I was folding towels on the couch when the email came in. The subject line was plain. Payment unreceived. Procedure cancellation notice. For a moment, I thought it was a mistake. I had the hospital bookmarked. I'd set 5 alarms to remember the payment deadline. I'd sold my laptop, my camera, even that stupid bracelet he gave me last year, the one with the heart-shaped clasp that always pinched my skin. I had paid. I was sure of it. I stared at the screen so long, the corners of my vision blurred. The email repeated itself in formal, sterile language. Due to insufficient funds, your scheduled procedure on April 14th has been canceled. Please contact billing. Services to reschedule. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Instead, I walked to the fridge and opened the door just to feel the cold. I stood there until my fingers went numb. That night, I asked my mom if she'd seen the email. She was in the kitchen, frosting cupcakes for Elise's transfer day. The pink and blue icing looked like hope, and desperation had been whipped into sugar. Elise's embryo transfer is tomorrow, she said, without looking up. She's nervous? Can you pick up some ginger tea on your way home? I blinked. The surgery was supposed to be April 14th, I said. No emotion, just a statement. She licked frosting off her finger. Sweetheart, we had to prioritize. Elise's window was closing. Mine was too, except my window had the word survival taped to the glass in black Sharpie. Hers had motherhood written in calligraphy and framed in gold. Elise walked in just then, practically glowing. She wore the silk robe I bought her for Christmas 2 years ago, the one she never said thank you for. Guess what? She beamed. We're doing twins. I think I said something. I think I smiled. I think I floated back upstairs without touching the stairs. I curled into the corner of my room and pressed the heel of my palm into my eye until the pain replaced everything else. 2 days later, I packed my things. Not in a dramatic way. No suitcase rolling down the stairs. No yelling. Just small, soft movements. Folding socks. Wrapping my old hoodie around the book I kept hidden under the bed. A few notebooks. My insurance card. That photo of me and Dad before he passed. Tucked behind a broken mirror. They were all downstairs, watching Elise's first injection like it was a red carpet premiere. When I walked past, no one looked up. I stayed in a friend's guest room for the first week. Then I found a cheap sublet above a laundromat on the east side, the kind with peeling wallpaper and pipes that gurgled like they were trying to speak. I didn't give them my address. They didn't ask. Some nights, I sit by the window and reread the hospital letter. The surgery would have helped with the internal bleeding. The doctors had said I was lucky, caught early enough, manageable if treated. But time was a fragile thread, and no one seemed to care if it snapped. I taped the letter to the wall, right next to the old calendar. The April 14th square still has my name scribbled in faded red ink. They erased it in real life. I keep it here so I don't forget that once, even for a moment, someone had written it down. The first week in the new place smelled like detergent and damp wood. I slept on a mattress I bought secondhand for $30. It had a tear along the side and smelled faintly of lavender and something else I couldn't place. The ceiling above me had a slow water stain that grew each time it rained. It looked a little like a tree if I stared long enough. A tree with long, bleeding branches. I didn't bring much. Just a plastic tub of old notebooks, a broken music box I never fixed, and one pair of shoes decent enough for interviews. I didn't hear from them. Not once. Elise posted a photo the day after her transfer. It showed her reclining on the couch, a fuzzy blanket draped over her legs, one hand resting dramatically on her stomach like a royal announcement. The caption read, "Little and babies tucked in. We're already so in love. IVF journey. Hach miracle babies." The couch was mine, or had been. I recognized the indent where I used to sit every Sunday morning, legs curled, drinking cold coffee, while they all slept in. No one mentioned me in the comments, but I saw Mom had replied with, "Our brave girl. Everything for you. Always. Everything for her. Always." I stopped checking their posts after that. But some things find you even when you don't want them to. A distant cousin tagged Elise in a family celebration post. It was a dinner. All of them around the table, smiling under soft lights. There were baby-themed cookies and pink napkins shaped like little dresses. And I was gone. Not just missing. Erased. Even the framed photos behind them had been rearranged. My graduation photo, once hung near the piano, was replaced with a sonogram. Stared at the image, a shape the size of a raspberry, floating, loved, seen. I hadn't been that small in a long time, but I had never felt more invisible. I applied for a job at the front desk of a quiet bookshop 4 blocks from my place. They didn't care about my health history or my family drama. They just wanted someone who could show up on time and keep the shelves clean. It felt strange to be wanted for something so simple. The owner, a woman named Mel, had eyes that reminded me of cracked sea glass. Soft, scratched, but still reflecting light. She didn't ask questions when I said I didn't have references. She just said, "Start Tuesday." I think that saved me. Not healed, but gave me a place to stand. One afternoon, I found a used book tucked behind the counter. It was a journal, linen-bound, its corners worn, like someone had held it too tightly for too long. Inside was a single line on the first page. "Write something real." So I did. I wrote about April 14th. I wrote about the ultrasound picture that replaced my face on the wall. I wrote about the time Elise told me I'd probably never be a mom anyway, because I was too cold, too logical, too something. And I wrote about the last time my mother hugged me, not since I got sick, not since the diagnosis, not even when I came home pale and shaky from the clinic that said you need surgery soon. It had been on my 19th birthday. She hugged me, distracted, because the doorbell rang and Elise's boyfriend had arrived with balloons. Now I write every night. It's the one thing I do that feels like mine. Sometimes the words come like water. Other times like blood, but at least they come. I don't know what happens to Elise's embryos. I don't know if Mom ever noticed the echo I left behind. But I know that I'm still here. I know the calendar had my name on it. And I know I didn't imagine the pain. There's a sound I used to hate. The low thud of laundry machines spinning. In the floor below me. Now, it comforts me. The hum of regular life. Someone's jeans, someone's baby clothes, someone's uniform, all turning over and over in warm water and soap. It means someone's living. That time is still moving, even if no one calls your name. I kept the hospital letter pinned on the wall above my mattress, not because I needed the reminder, but because I wanted to make sure I didn't dull myself into pretending it hadn't happened. They had taken my pain and handed it to her in a gift bag with glitter tissue paper, and now I was the one bleeding, quietly behind a book counter. Last Thursday, Mel asked if I could work the morning shift. I arrived before the sun broke the clouds, the kind of dull gray morning that softens everything, even the noise inside your head. There was a man who came in at 8:17 every morning, always 8:17, always in a dark coat that smelled faintly of paper and peppermint. He never said much, just bought a newspaper and left a tip in the jar shaped like a ceramic cat. But that day, he paused, looked at me for a long moment. Then he said, "You look like you're carrying something invisible." I almost laughed, but I didn't. Instead, I just said, "Aren't we all?" He nodded and left. And for the first time in weeks, I let myself feel something like seen. At night, I still dream of Elise, but never directly. She's always just outside the frame, laughing from another room, passing behind a curtain, smiling in a photo I can't quite see, always surrounded by people, always adored. In the dreams, I'm usually standing in a hallway, holding a bag, knowing I'm about to be told again that there's no room for me. It's never loud, just final. I found an old voicemail on my phone last night, a remnant from before I left. It was Mom. Her voice was high, cheerful, stretched too tightly. "Hey, sweetheart, can you help set up the baby shower stuff? Elise is a bit overwhelmed. Oh, and if you can grab more of those lemon cookies she liked, that'd be perfect. Thanks. Love you." There was no mention of me being in pain. No, "How are you feeling?" No, "Are you eating?" Just more errands for someone else's dream. I deleted the voicemail. Then I sat in the dark and let the silence buzz in my ears like static. It's strange how grief doesn't ask for permission. It just shows up in quiet ways, in the middle of a shampoo bottle running out, or the realization that no one noticed your favorite mug was missing from the kitchen cabinet. You don't miss the people. You miss the you were when you still thought they cared. Mel gave me a journal with gold-edged pages for my birthday. She didn't even know it was my birthday, just said, "You seemed like someone who could use a place to put things." I almost cried. Over something so small. But small kindnesses feel bigger when you've been fed on crumbs for years. That night, I wrote one sentence. I wasn't selfish. I was sacrificed. They haven't called, not once. No, "Where did you go?" No, "We're worried." No, "We miss you." I think that's what hurts the most. Not the theft of money, not the canceled surgery, but the realization that my absence was quieter than my presence. Like I was never really in the photo to begin with. It rained for 3 days straight. Not the dramatic kind of rain that makes people talk about storms. Just a tired drizzle, like the sky had run out of ways to scream and now only whispered. I stayed in most of those days, watched the droplets crawl down the window, tracing patterns, like veins across glass. The kind of rain that makes everything feel suspended. Even time, even memory. I went back to the house once, not inside, just near it. It was late afternoon, and I told myself I was just passing by, that I wanted to see the neighborhood, that I missed the way the old oak trees arched over the road like a canopy. But the truth is, I needed to know if it all still existed. If they were still there, laughing, living, not noticing the hollow space where I used to be. The porch light was on. A pink banner hung over the railing. "It's a girl." There were balloons half deflated on the mailbox. One sagged low, its string tangled in the weeds, and through the sheer curtain in the front window, I saw them. All of them. Mom holding a plate of cake. Elise beaming, hand on her belly, the center of the sun. A man I didn't recognize kissing her cheek. My aunt clapping. My cousin holding a sparkly gift bag. I stood across the street. The lights blurred through my lashes. Not a single glance toward the door. Not a pause. It was like I'd never lived there at all. That night, I wrote in the journal until my hand cramped. I wrote, "It was never about the money. It was about the vote. They cast it, and I lost." A week later, Mel asked me to help organize the back storage room. It was quiet work, folding blankets, dusting forgotten shelves, peeling brittle tape off boxes marked 2008 receipts, and spring book fare. In the far corner, there was an old armoire, wooden, heavy. It creaked when I touched it. The top was covered in a film of dust, like no one had dared wake it in years. Inside were old decorations, string lights, and winter scarves left behind by customers. But at the bottom, behind a pile of frayed bookmarks, was a locked drawer. It had a tarnished brass handle and no key. I don't know why, but my hand started shaking when I touched it. Maybe because locked things feel familiar now. That night, I dreamt of a closet from my childhood. In the dream, I was little again, 7, maybe 8. I was trying to open the hallway linen closet, and Mom was yelling from another room, telling me to stay out, telling me that was not for me. I never knew what was in there, even after I turned 18 and technically had access to every room. Some things stay, locked even after you leave the house. At the bookshop, I kept glancing at the drawer. Mel noticed. "You're curious," she said, smiling. "I get it. That drawer's been locked since before I bought the place. No key, no label. Some things just stay mysteries." I nodded, but something about it stayed with me, because I know what it's like to be the thing nobody opens. I called the hospital again. Just to ask, not for money, not for an apology. Just, what would it cost now, if I wanted to reschedule? The woman on the phone had a gentle voice. She said they had my records, that the doctor still remembered me, that I'd be eligible for a payment plan if I had a referral. I hung up before giving my new address, but I sat there with the receiver in my hand for a long time. A possibility felt heavier than grief. I walked home under clouds that hung low, like breath on a mirror, and I thought about something no one ever says. Sometimes revenge isn't fire. Sometimes it's the act of continuing, of healing, quietly, where they can't see. Sometimes it's choosing your own name again, not the one they called when they wanted something. I'm thinking of scheduling the surgery, this time, under my own name, on my own terms. Maybe in May, a new month, no birthdays, no showers, no banners, just space, and maybe, just maybe, peace. The drawer still hasn't opened. Every time I walk into the back room, It waits. Heavy. Quiet. Patient. Like it knows something I don't. Like it understands secrets better than people do. I asked Mel again if she'd ever tried to force it open. She just shrugged and said, "Some things open when they're meant to." I don't know if she meant the drawer, or me. It's been 63 days since I left them. I know because I mark it on the calendar I taped to the wall, a cheap dollar store one with faded roses printed in the corners. Each day has a small, red dot beside it, like a trail of quiet blood. My own version of a countdown, maybe. Or a survival map. They haven't called. Not even a text. Even the silence has begun to rot. It's not sharp anymore. It's soft, molded, familiar. I passed by a mirror in the hallway the other day and didn't recognize my own reflection. Not because I looked worse, but because I looked real. Like someone trying, not surviving. I had on the cardigan Mel gave me, one sleeve fraying slightly. My hair was tucked behind my ears. No makeup, no mask, just me. I stared at my eyes for a long time. They looked like someone who was waiting for something that might not ever come, but was still standing anyway. A letter arrived. I wasn't expecting anything. I hadn't given this address to anyone but the hospital. But there it was. A small white envelope, tucked beneath the door. No name on the front. No return address. Inside was a folded piece of paper. 2 words, written in a familiar, shaky hand. "You left?" I don't know if it was Mom, or Elise, or one of the aunts trying to feel less guilty in the middle of the night. But I didn't reply. Not because I didn't want to, but because I already had. With my absence, with my breath, with my beginning. Again. The hospital called. They offered me a new date, May 12th, a Tuesday. The same day I got the original cancellation notice. It felt poetic. Or cruel. Or both. I told them yes. They asked if I'd need a support person. I said, "No, thank you." It was the easiest lie I've told in weeks, but also the truest. I spent the evening writing out instructions, not for anyone else. For myself. How to pack. What to eat the night before. Which book to bring. How to survive the feeling of walking into a waiting room alone. It felt strangely empowering, like building scaffolding around the part of myself they tried to collapse. That night, I dreamt I was back in the house again. Only this time no one was there. The rooms were empty. The photos on the walls were crooked, falling. The balloons deflated, dragging across the floor like ghosts. I walked into the kitchen and saw a cake on the counter. My name written in frosting. Except the letters were smudged, as if someone had tried to remember but didn't quite know how. I woke up before I could taste it. I went to the drawer again, sat cross-legged in front of it, like a child asking for a story. I don't know what I expected, some metaphor to spill out if I stared long enough. But it didn't open. Just stayed there. Quiet. Closed. Whole. I ran my fingers across the top, pressed my forehead to the wood and whispered, "They took so much. But not all of me." And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. The days before the surgery feel both too slow and too fast. Every morning I circle the date on the calendar again, May 12th, as if the ink might solidify my spine, as if writing it down will convince my body it's real this time. That no one else is going to take it from me. Not this time. I wake earlier now. Not because I have to. The bookshop doesn't open until 10. But because the light through the cracked blinds warms the room in a way I've grown to depend on. It's not a sunrise full of promise. It's not cinematic. It just is like me. Mel brought in croissants yesterday. She said she got too many by accident. I know she didn't. She left one by the register and didn't say anything when I wrapped it in a napkin and saved it for lunch. That kind of quiet kindness makes something ache in me, in a way I don't have language for yet. At night, I write down things I'm learning to believe. Not all silence is abandonment. Not every small gesture needs repayment. Some people show up without demanding a spotlight. I am allowed to stay gone. There's a girl who comes into the shop every Friday with her daughter. She can't be more than 21. The little girl runs her hands over every spine on the children's shelf, whispering the names like they're spells. The mother just watches her. Not rushed, not distracted, just there. And every time, I think, this is what being chosen looks like. Not demanded, not earned through sacrifice. Just quietly, freely given. I haven't looked at Elise's account in weeks, but this morning, I did. Not out of jealousy, not even grief. Just curiosity. The kind that follows you like a shadow when you think you've outrun it. Her latest post was a maternity shoot. Golden light, flower crown. Him behind her, hands on her stomach, a perfect echo of expectation. Mom commented, "We're all counting down with you." That word, countdown, did something to me. Because I'm counting, too, but no one is watching my calendar. No one is asking how I feel. No one is waiting on the other side of May 12th, except me, and maybe that's enough. I started putting together a little envelope last night. Inside is my updated emergency contact card, a copy of the payment confirmation, new insurance info, a note for myself that says, "You made it, even without them." It's silly. I know, but part of healing is learning how to mother yourself. Today Mel found me in the back, staring at the locked drawer again. She sat beside me on the floor. No words, just sat. After a while she said, "You don't have to open something to know what it holds." I looked at her, and for the first time I asked, "Do you think it's empty?" She smiled, soft and sad. "I think it's holding exactly what you need it to." Sometimes I wonder what they'd say if they saw me. Now, not Elise, not even Mom, but the version of me that used to live for their attention, the one who waited at every holiday dinner table to be seen. Would she recognize this girl? The one who eats her croissant in silence and doesn't check her phone for messages that never come? The one who writes in the journal each night like it's the only place that tells the truth? Maybe not, but I'm starting to. I'm 8 days out. The hospital sent a reminder this morning. This time the subject line didn't say canceled. It said, "We look forward to seeing you, Miss Green. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I looked forward to seeing me too." The night before the surgery, I didn't sleep, not out of fear, but because I felt like I needed to stay awake to witness the moment. The last night before they opened me up, before they stitched shut the places that had ached for years, not just in my body, but in the parts of me no scan could see. I lay on the mattress beneath the old window and watched the shadows move across the ceiling. The city whispered in muffled sighs. Cars passing, a dog barking 3 blocks over, someone's TV humming a language I couldn't understand. And I thought, I did this. I got here. Even when they didn't. I packed a small bag, a book, my journal. The envelope I'd labeled, just in case. I tucked a note inside the book, too. It simply read, "No one else paid for this." Because they didn't. Not this time. At the hospital, the nurse asked if someone would be picking me up. I said yes, and gave her the name of a cab company. She didn't press, just nodded and helped me into the gown, her hands gentle, like she understood how fragile I felt even without saying it out loud. When she left, I stared at the ceiling again. Different tiles, same silence. And suddenly I remembered a moment from years ago. I was 13. Elise had gotten sick at school. Nothing serious, just a stomach bug. But Mom left work early, rushed home, made her soup, changed her sheets, and rubbed her back until she fell asleep. That same week, I had a fever. No one noticed. I made myself toast, threw it away, crawled into bed without a sound. It's strange. The moments that stay, not the holidays, not the vacations, but the echoes of who wasn't there. The doctor came in around 9. She had kind eyes, introduced herself, explained everything again even though she knew I already knew. Said things like, "We'll take care of you," and "You're not alone here." I almost cried when she said that. Not because it was true, but because she meant it. The surgery took a little over 3 hours. I woke up in a fog of gauze and light, my throat dry, my hand attached to an IV that beeped softly like a second heartbeat. They gave me water, crackers, time. No visitors came, no flowers. And it was okay, because I brought myself this far. I could bring myself the rest of the way. Mel picked me up. She didn't tell me she was coming, just showed up in the lobby with a to-go cup of tea and a hoodie. She said she didn't need any more. She didn't ask questions, just said, "You're good at surviving. But now you get to rest." Nodded, too tired to speak. But something in my chest broke open just a little. Not pain, relief. Back in my apartment, I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling again. Only this time, the water stain above me looked different. Not like a tree, more like a river. Curving. Moving. Going somewhere. Elise posted another photo while I was gone. I didn't look. Not really, just glimpsed it as I scrolled past. Her in a nursery full of pastel colors. Mom holding a tiny pair of shoes. The caption, "2 weeks until we meet you." No one asked where I was. No one noticed I'd vanished again. But I didn't. Mine this time, because I didn't vanish. I left, and there's a difference. 2 weeks passed. My stitches dissolved. The bruises faded. And the silence, the one I once feared, became my favorite room to sit inside. It was the first time in my life my body didn't feel like a warning sign. Not a problem to be solved. Not a burden to be negotiated. Just mine. I stopped checking their updates entirely. I don't know if the baby arrived yet. I don't know if they still use my old room, or if Elise's baby sleeps there now, swaddled in all the love I never got to touch. But I do know this. I haven't missed them. Not the way I used to. Not like a wound. More like something I finally put down after carrying it far too long. Last week, I returned to the bookshop for my first shift back. Mel hugged me when she saw me. Brief, warm, real. She didn't ask about the surgery. She didn't need to. She just said, "Glad you're still here." And for the first time, I was too. That evening, I stayed late to reorganize the storage room. I wasn't trying to. It just happened. I got caught up in the quiet, the hum of the lights, the smell of old paper and wood, and that drawer, still locked, still waiting. I ran my fingers across its edge again, but this time I didn't try to open it. I didn't need it to tell me anything anymore. I already knew. Some things stay closed because they're not yours to carry, and others, you finally choose to let go. I wrote a letter the next morning. I didn't send it. I didn't even sign it. I just needed to write it. Dear Mom, you chose her. Over and over and over. And I let you. I bent. I folded. I became quiet enough to disappear. You told me my pain could wait. So I stopped waiting for you to notice. I hope her baby is beautiful. I hope she never has to wonder if you love her. And I hope one day you realize who didn't sit at that table and why. But I won't be there to explain it. I'm not coming back. The daughter you forgot while she was still breathing, I folded it, placed it in the back of my journal, and closed the cover. 2 nights ago, I had a dream again, not of the house, not of Elise, but of myself, standing at the edge of a field, tall grass swaying around my legs, barefoot, clean, whole. There was no one behind me, and no one ahead, just space, and the sound of something beginning. Today is June 2nd, a new calendar. No red dots, no countdowns, only mornings, and the quietest goodbye I ever gave.